Good morning, Edmonton and beyond. I'm your host, Paul Sir, joined by our special guest today, Avry Lewis-McDougall from Avery's Sports Show is joining us today and going to give us his insights into the world of basketball. Avery, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to have you with us. And, of course, Ryan.
Not as special, but I'm here.
Oh, no, you're always as special. You're in the command chair and guiding us through this program at this very, very exciting time of the year. You really, I keep saying it week after week, most wonderful time of the year. And I think it really started with March Madness, which did not disappoint. Now we're into the full throes of the NBA playoffs. The play-in rounds are done, and we're going to have some great discussion today about the NBA playoffs primarily, but we've got a fantastic show online, of course, with Avery joining us. Ryan's always great insights on what's wrong with the Sacramento Kings and just being able to talk NBA. But we have a very special guest at 10:40 this morning, someone who's joined us before. Yvonne Edgem is from Calgary. She's from a great basketball family. Her brother Melvin is a phenomenal player, has played many times on the Canadian national team. But Yvonne has carved out a pathway that is incredible. Remarkable 5-year career at Gonzaga. Awards galore. I won't even, like when I talk to her, I'm not even going to bother starting, because if you start, you take up the 15 minutes just on the designations that she's earned and received, both for her performances on the court and in the classroom. She's a phenomenal young woman and the first Calgarian, and I think one of the Ploufs was drafted as well into the WNBA. I think it was Michelle, but second Albertan to be drafted into the WNBA, third round by the Indiana Fever. Not bad to be able to go to the Fever.
There's someone on that team that I think I know.
Yeah, there's somebody that plays not bad at the Indiana Fever. So she joins us at 10:40, and then at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock, our good friend Ben Golliver comes back, and Ben and I had a conversation midweek. So some of the content, not much, but some will be a little bit dated. But I think what he brings is that tremendous in the weeds, in the locker room, courtside insight, which has led to him becoming one of the best NBA writers anywhere. And Ben joins us at the top of the hour. Our text line is 1-833-401-1440, and you're going to want to remember that today. We'll get to it in just a second. But, Ryan, why don't you start us off with the poll question for today?
Which of these four final scenarios is more likely? Boston versus Oklahoma City, Cleveland versus Oklahoma City, Golden State versus Cleveland, or the Lakers versus the Celtics? Go vote on our Twitter, Basketball_Show, and let us know what you think.
It's on our Twitter. So, again, it's OKC and Cleveland, OKC and Boston, Golden State and Cleveland, LA Lakers and Boston. So we've got some variety in there. And really what we're looking at, now that we're at the start, the playoffs start today. We have 2 games today. And we have all of these presuppositions of what's going to happen, Avery. But now the rubber's going to hit the road. So it's going to be a dynamic. I think there are some dynamic first-round playoff matchups, don't you?
No, totally. I mean, if you're a basketball fan, you're loving what's coming up in the first round here, Paul.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk in the second segment today specifically about each playoff matchup and where we think it's going to go. We also are going to do something a little bit different this morning. In addition to the poll question, which Ryan just read, I want to give something away. I've got a set of FIBA 3x3 a jersey and shorts. An official jersey and shorts that's used on the World Tour that I really want to give away to someone. But this is what you need to do to win it. I want you to make the case for a team other than Boston, OKC, or Cleveland to win the NBA championship. Going into the playoffs, you have Boston as the defending champion. You have OKC with a dominant record through the regular season, followed closely by Cleveland, which in among many shocking turnarounds and regular season performances, I think exceeded all expectations in Cleveland this year. So those are the three most often mentioned favorites to win this year's NBA championship. And I want you to make a case for what other team could win the NBA championship. And I know that's not a stretch because there are a lot of other teams that would be in serious consideration. So text us, please. And Ryan, give the number, I've got it, 833-401-1440. Again, 833-401-1440. Send in your reasons why the team you are picking is going to win the NBA championship outside of the three that I mentioned. And we'll pick a winner. And in the last segment, we'll read your text and we'll get your information and we'll send you out a set of FIBA 3x3 reversible jersey. And I mean, this set sells for $150, so it's a really nice set, and also a pair of shorts. So it'll be a great look. You'll be the hit of your class. You can wear it to work at the water cooler, wear it downtown during one of the festivals this summer.
Is that dress code nowadays?
Absolutely.
Just a reverse
casual Friday. Absolutely. So let's do our three from deep. This is presented by the 2025 Hoop City 3x3 Festival, July 31st to August 3rd at the Ice Palace here in West Edmonton Mall. We will have 4 FIBA 3x3 events, including the Men's World Tour, a 12-team women's series, and also 2 qualifying rounds. This is the largest FIBA 3x3 event in North America, and it will have many of the best teams in the world, including our Champions Cup winner, Canadian women 3x3 team, one of the dominant powers for years and years. And we have many Olympic medal winning teams on both the men's and women's sides that are going to be here. So make your plans right now. The entry is free. It's going to be on the ice surface. It's going to look and feel great. You're going to have a great time. So let's talk about the play-in games. Avery, was there one play-in game that stood out for you?
That's still to me in my mind. I would say it was probably the game last night where we saw Miami take down the Atlanta Hawks. And that's a team in which the Miami Heat coming in, they're the first number 10 seed to win both games. And I look at Miami, that's a hungry team. They trade Butler to Golden State, and to see guys like David Mitchell stepping up with big buckets, that goes to show me that Miami should be, I mean, it's not feared, but you got to pay attention to them, seeing them step up in a major way against Atlanta, in my mind, Paul.
I think it's a great, I think that's a great point, and we have to always remember, Eric Spoelstra knows what playoff basketball is all about.
Yes.
He knows what it means to get a team to peak in what's been a very difficult season for them between injuries and then, of course, the Jimmy Butler fiasco in terms of Butler, blowing up their season really with his antics. And, we'll talk about that in the second segment, too, when we get into the Golden State first-round matchup. But I think you make a good point. And it's good to see Andrew Wiggins being a meaningful contributor, too. And Tyler Hero has been exactly as his name is often quoted. He certainly was in the first 2 games with 38 and 30, I believe. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Atlanta's terrible. I can't stand Atlanta. I hate the way they play. Their franchise has always been a poison, culture-challenged franchise, and they just never really seem to be able to get their act together. So I think that's a good choice. How about you, Ryan?
It's going to come to no surprise to our listeners that it's going to be watching the Kings here. It's not. I'm not even going to say it's the great game, but it's.
I'm listening. I'm listening. Yep.
Watching this team for almost 20 years and just seeing zero progress is one of the more just depressing things in sports as a sports fan. They can't guard it. You could put a 2011 Kia Soul in the paint and find a way to score a basket on this team. I'm afraid. DeMar DeRozan still we can score, of course. Like DeMar DeRozan had 33 against the Mavs in that one play-in game. Levine did figure out to have 20 somehow. But overall, there's no cohesion at all, and you can't. The only person on the team who can guard anybody is Keon Ellis, and he only played 18 minutes against the Mavericks because we have so many, like that glut of like just shooting guards. There's not a point guard on our team. Just straight up, we don't have a point guard. Markelle Fultz is maybe the closest thing we have to it, but Keon Ellis is an off-ball guard. Same with Zach LaVine. Same with DeMar DeRozan. Same with Devin Carter. Same with Doug McDermott. Same with Terrence Davis. The list goes on and on. There's not a point guard on the team. We used to have a couple point guards, but we traded them, and now one of them made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and the other one is playing with Victor Wembanyama. So
No, you know what? I always poke fun at you, but two things. One observation is there was genuine sadness in your voice, Ryan.
It's been 20
I have to
years.
say, that
I've
was
watched 7
genuinely
playoff
sad.
games.
But you know what's interesting is going back to Atlanta, I would put Sacramento in a similar category. You can really see whether it's professional sports or high school sports, whatever level that you're talking about, you really can see how hard it is to build team cohesion and culture for a variety of reasons. And it's interesting how organizations catch this virus and they have a hard time finding an antidote. Yeah. And that's Atlanta. No matter what they do, no matter who they hire or fire, it always seems to come back to this. It shows how difficult it is to build a winning team. Sacramento, the same thing. Like, they really seem to be on a good path. And then some of those unexplainable, inexplicable decisions are made that thwart the progress that they seem to be making. The counterbalance to that is OKC, of course. They're the pinnacle of building team culture and accumulating draft picks and tactfully, thoughtfully, systematically building this into the contender that they are with a bit of luck. Who would have thought when you traded
the Hawks at least made a conference finals, I will say, right? Like they lost to the Bucks in the conference final.
Yeah, you're right.
The Kings have yet to make it out of the first round since I was like 4.
Yeah, well, but you're only 8, so I mean that's only 4. No, I'm just but I think you're absolutely right. The Hawks have had some better moments, but their better moments does not translate to championship caliber or making that break through the glass ceiling, which for the Kings is really low. So I'm going to throw a different game out, and that is the Golden State victory the other night where they defeated Memphis. For me, that was the game that and I'll tell you why. And I talk about this with Ben Golliver, so I won't elaborate on it too much. But to watch Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, combined with Steph Curry, Avry, was really something to behold, and that it amazes me that a guy like Butler can be so disruptive, but it shows, I think, his strong will, which can be used for good or evil.
Yes, not wrong.
But now Jimmy, the good Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, is here, and Steph Curry continues to play like the Mozart of basketball.
Yeah, and it reminds me, too, that as much as people like to say, the Warriors are done, they're finally dead, a Steph Curry basketball team will always find a way, some way, somehow, to get out of the mud, and a team that is coached by Steve Kerr will find a way to figure it out some way, somehow.
Absolutely, and the re-energizing, Ryan, of the Warriors, for instance, Draymond Green, who, again, like Jimmy Butler, I mean, talk about two dynamite personalities. By dynamite, I mean literally they're ready to blow up any time. But I think like with, Draymond Green became Draymond Green again, the guy who is the great defender, in contention once again for Defensive Player of the Year. And that really started in earnest when Jimmy Butler showed up in Golden State.
Jimmy Butler just continued to add to the culture that they already had, right? That intense dog mentality that they've done for so many years, especially in the playoffs, just continues to show through, right? They're going to have to figure out the whole fighting thing, especially playing against Dylan Brooks and the Houston Rockets. There was a funny tweet. There was a fake tweet, granted, but there's some people that believed it on Twitter from NBA Centel, who's known just to fake stuff instead of Central to NBA Centel. He said, the Golden State Warriors are working with Pfizer to tranquilize Draymond Green and keep him calm during practices and playoffs. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, good idea. But
in the midst of all the fake stuff that goes out, there are just some gems. And that's one of them. I think what I'd like to sort of switch gears to now, guys, is which teams, and this is not playoff, our play-in teams. This is all teams going into the playoffs. Name a couple of teams, Avery, that you think are going into the playoffs with a great sense of momentum.
One of them.
I'll just qualify it one more.
Okay.
That gives them the chance to win the first round.
Okay, I gotta say my first team I think is the Detroit Pistons. And first of all, I think that series of them against New York is gonna be probably one of the fun ones to watch. But seeing what they've got around guys like Kate Cunningham, it's a young, confident team that finds ways to score the basketball, isn't afraid of anybody. I think the confidence that the team is gonna be able to give New York a real scare, possibly beat New York, I think, in 7 games in my mind. And one other team, I think, one other team I want to be watching. I know people like to do the whole, Lakers in 5, the whole Shannon Sharp thing. I think the Timberwolves are a team that are going to come out there and punch the Lakers in the mouth. Because, yes, the Lakers, of course, you've got LeBron James, you've got Austin Reeves, you've got a solid core in the Lakers. But Ant Edwards can take over a game and change a series in a heartbeat. We saw it again last year. Even though Nuggets won, he was still a major impact player in the Western playoffs against teams like the Nuggets and against against Dallas, sorry.
No, 100% right. How about you, Ryan?
I don't think there's really like a bad matchup in the first round. I will always point to, Nuggets Clippers is going to be nuts, I think, with Jokic versus Kawhi. And then, of course, Lakers Timberwolves, as Avery pointed out. I think the West in general probably beats the East in piquing my interest for sure. But again, every series has its own storyline and own narrative that'll come out of it. I think a fun exercise, I heard it on a Bill Simmons podcast a while ago, where you think of a winner from each series and you think how different the narrative will be from each winner, and it creates just more entertainment for the league.
Oh, it does that. I'm just making a couple of notes right now because I didn't
good
want
or
to forget
bad? Feels
this.
like I'm in school again.
Well, no, I'm just
Ryan doesn't
I'm
know what
giving
he's talking
Ryan
about.
F incomplete.
School after school.
Yes, homework, double his homework tonight. Here's to me is what's so intriguing when you go into 8 series like this. What are the matchups actually going to look like in a 7-game series? Because matchups is everything. I really liked your take on the Timberwolves and Lakers. I just have no idea how the big Timberwolves, physically big Timberwolves with Ant, go against the skill and offensive firepower of Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. It's really going to be intriguing. That's number one. So matchups are huge.
Gobert can't hide from Doncic.
No, Gobert can't hide from Doncic, but when Doncic is going to the rim, and I really saw this a lot with both Gobert and with Zach Edey in a 7-game playoffs. And this is another team I'm intrigued by is Memphis going into their first-round series. Not that they're going to beat OKC, but I think they could play with them. I think they can take a couple off them because when you look at the game last night against Dallas, and granted, Dallas is a shadow of itself, although it was great to see Anthony Edwards play like Anthony Edwards last night. But I think, I think they have a lot of talent on that team, and they went through that ridiculous, strange coaching firing, and one of the 2 inexplicable coaching firing in terms of timing, that sort of thing. But the team that I think has the most momentum that I'm really curious to watch, and again, it'll come down to matchups, and in particular to one matchup, and that's the LA Clippers. They have been playing really, really well since Kawhi has been healthy. It's the old Kawhi right now. If he stays healthy through this entire series, I think we have something to really watch.
No, you're totally right, Paul, because, if Kawhi can go back to the days of him in San Antonio 2013 with Toronto in 2019, they will be a scary team. And, it's funny because for me, as someone who's watched basketball almost all my life, the idea of a Clippers deep run, if I told myself that 20 years ago, I would laugh because, the old jokes about the Clippers, being a deep team seems silly. Yep. But now they really are a threat in the Western Conference. That's a team that really could make some noise. And could you imagine the narratives if we were to somehow get a conference final of LA, the Lakers against the Clippers? Could you imagine that? Conference finals, seeing Luka, LeBron, Kawhi, and you got to go to the finals. That'd be fun to watch.
It'd be fun to watch, and the TV executives are drooling and rubbing their hands together and hoping like heck that they might be talking to Pfizer right now.
I wanted to point out that you said that it's just a quick thing off the topic. Grizzlies versus Thunder. The Grizzlies haven't beat the Thunder 9 straight games.
Okay, well then I'm wrong. But
you may not be wrong. I'm just saying they have not been able to figure them out, and none of the games are even close either.
Well, and OKC is so much better. They have been so much better than everybody.
Fair. I think
all
it's
year. I'm thinking if, and this is a big if, it could be a 4-0 sweep so easily, but I think they could take one or two.
Fair enough.
Maybe off OKC, because this, again, all the pressure's on OKC right now.
Yes, it is.
To perform.
And these games aren't in playoffs either, right? It's all regular season. Playoffs is a different beast.
100%. 7 games is a different deal. I still look for the OKC to have their way. Obviously, I'm just hoping Memphis at least can put up a good fight. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll break down all of the matchups for the first round of the NBA playoffs. Thanks for joining us this morning. Avery, Ryan, and Paul are joining you from the sports leader in Edmonton, Sports 1440. Welcome back to the Basketball Show. Paul Sir, Avery, Ryan joining you this morning. Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs. I've chosen several instrumental picks from the late 50s and 60s that I just think are classics.
And you said you might sing too, apparently.
Well, I have put words to Green Onions, so I'm anxious to share those lyrics. It'll be the premiere here this morning. So, okay, we're going to talk about the East. We're going to talk about the Eastern playoff matchups to start with. Let's go. Cavs versus Heat. You're very bullish on Miami. Can Miami, Avery, compete with Cleveland?
I am very bullish on them. You know, I don't think it'll be a 4 or 5 game series, but I do think the Heat have enough to take it to 6 games. I mean, the Cavaliers are a solid team. We've certainly done all season long Eastern Conference, but I do think the Cavs find a way to get it done in 6. But it'll be a battle. An Eric Spoelstra coach team will not go down quietly. We all know that, guys.
100%. How about you, Ryan? Are you? Is it a breeze for Cleveland, or are you going with Avery's 4-2 take?
I don't mind it. I don't think it goes past.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be a sweep. How about that? I'm going to say it's going to be 5 games.
Okay.
We talked about the Grizzlies OKC series for who's won who, so I might as well just do the Heat and Cavaliers too. Mm-hmm. The Heat have lost 2 straight to the Cavs, but they won the previous 3. So that's also when they had Jimmy Butler, though.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a big enough sample size to do a whole game log thing when they don't have Jimmy Butler for the last little bit. I think they win 1 game. Tyler Herro was like 42 in that game, and then after that, the Cavs figured out. Like again, I think they can only be so good against a team like that, right? Like if they figure out Herro and they figure out those guys, then I don't know how much they're going to be able to do against such a defensively sound team that knows exactly what they're doing, has been doing it all season with no major changes outside of DeAndre Hunter on the wing. So I'm going to say Cavaliers in 5.
Okay, well, and I think that Miami's series they've really had to fight through adversity. It's been a bit of a dumpster fire all year, so I'm going to go with the Cavs in 5. Bucks Pacers. This is an intriguing series, guys. The Pacers got to the conference finals last year. Damian Lillard, you pointed out during the break, has his blood clots have cleared up, so he's able to come back and play. Everybody said if Lillard's not playing, it's going to be very difficult to see any way that the Bucks could be competitive in this series. On the other hand, Indiana has had a pretty solid season. They played pretty well overall, and I say pretty well. That's not a ringing endorsement. And you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who in most years, if you didn't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jokic in front of you, would be the clear MVP again. Like he's had a monster year. His numbers are ridiculous. But he can't shoot the 3, and he can't carry a team over a 7-game series. That's been proven because what defenses do is they pack the lane. Yep. They run a second defender at him to get the ball out of his hands.
Al Horford's the honest stopper.
That's right. Oh, yeah. He can stay in front of Giannis sometimes. And with Giannis not really having a phenomenal mid-range game and a very suspect 3-point game, it's tough. So I'm going with the Pacers in 6.
Great points, Paul. And you know what? I mentioned during the break, Dame, if Dame comes back, it'll be great. But is that going to be Dame at 100% like he's been beforehand? We still don't know that. So I'm going to agree. I think the Pacers do get it done. I'm going to go Indiana in 6.
Okay. How about you, Ryan?
I'm contrary to all you guys. I'm a Giannis believer. Even if the Pacers actually kind of have experience now, right? They made the conference finals. Yeah. If Giannis is healthy, I'm going to preface with that. Giannis last year didn't play at all. Then in 2022-23 played 3 games. Before that, he was playing 12, and then obviously in the championship run he played 21, averaging 30, 13, and 5, by the way, which is nuts. And then 32, 14, and 7 the next year in 12 games, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's kind of what I'm counting on here. If he's healthy And even if Damian Lillard isn't 100%, I think if Giannis is fully there and healthy, then I think they win this in 6 games.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing your incorrect assessment there, Ryan. So, no, actually, there's a lot to what you're saying. Yeah, Giannis, it is so hard to express how good Giannis Antetokounmpo is year after year. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, though, if they do lose, what is Giannis's mindset going forward? I think
he's too loyal.
I hope so. It would be refreshing to be too loyal in today's game. So let's jump to the Pistons and Knicks. I know, Avery, this is a personal passion of yours in terms of this matchup. So what are your thoughts on the Pistons versus the Knicks, and what's your prediction?
Mm-hmm. I know I mentioned beforehand seeing what the Pistons have been able to do, because the past couple of years, the Pistons were atrocious. Easily one of the worst basketball teams I think we'd ever seen.
Historically, yeah.
They were. And seeing them turn things around under J.B. Bicker's staff, that's a young team that's confident, given the green light to execute. But also, too, on the flip side, the New York Knicks have been building up a fun core of guys like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson. That's a team in which I think this is, to me, going to be probably the most evenly matched series in terms of length. And I think this is going to be the first 7-game series. And I'm going to go shocked. I'm going to go to Detroit in 7 in a tough series, but an entertaining one nonetheless.
Okay, Ryan.
It's going to come down to the supporting cast. I think we both know what Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham are going to bring to the table. They're both going to have 25 to 30-point games almost every night. It's going to come down to the surrounding players. Mm-hmm. Is Jaden Ivey going to be there for Detroit? Is Malik Beasley going to hit the shots he was hitting all regular season? Is Asar Thompson going to make that jump in the playoffs?
Yes.
Is Isaiah Stewart going to be a normal person and not storm after
you know the answer to that.
Not trying to fight every Nick he sees.
Exactly. It's going to the supporting cast. So I think, again, we've been doing the game logs in recent series, and the Pistons have won the last 3 against the Knicks, but then lost the previous, holy smokes, 15 games, which is, again, that's because they were 2-28.
But I mean, they had a 30.
Their actual roster, they've done
so.
Quite well with their current roster against the Pistons, and none of these games are within 8 points. All of them are beyond that. So I'm gonna say. I think I might agree. Pistons in 7. I'll say Pistons in 7.
Okay. Well,
and I'm cheering for it too.
Youth is wasted on the young, so you guys are. I appreciate your false hope, but I'm going with the Knicks in 6. I think the moment's going to be really tough for the Pistons, and I think the difference maker to me is Karl Anthony Towns, if he stays healthy and if he keeps his head on right, because we know with the Timberwolves, playoff Karl is oftentimes very suspect. But I think his role is so clearly defined in New York, and he had an outstanding regular season, and really, I think, was instrumental in keeping the Knicks at least somewhat competitive when Brunson was out. So I'm going to go with the Knicks. I'm going to go with the Knicks in 6. Celtics Orlando, to me it's a sweep. Maybe 4-1, maybe for the Celtics, but I can't see Orlando competing with them at all.
Yeah, no, Orlando, I mean, they're another fun team to watch. Guys like Paulo Banchero, Corey Joseph was in the backcourt, Canadian content.
And what's interesting, they really started playing well when Corey took at point guard. And what's interesting is this is one of my favorite takes on point guards. When you see point guards with statistically not much in their categories, that can be a good thing because they're distributing the ball to the people who need it in their hands, like a Wagner, like a Banchero, and not holding onto the ball, moving the ball, getting into the flow. So they got better when Corey came in and did less.
Yes, they did. But with that being said, I'm with you, Paul. This Magic team, good, but just not ready for that jump yet. I'm going to go agree Boston in 4.
Okay.
I'm also going to say Boston in 4, but I do think that the games will be, at least a couple will be competitive. I do think there'll be a couple blowouts of this Boston team that is seemingly perfect, and they just find guys. It feels like every couple months there's a random white guy that does well for the Celtics. And honestly,
that's
good for them.
true. These guys,
fine guys. They just go,
they all appear to me to be the same player.
Yeah, just run around, shoot threes, play decent defense. They just go outside in the garden and have a sign and say, "You're looking for a white guy." But I honestly think the Magic are gonna give him a couple things, and I think I've said this on the show. But Franz Wagner and I they share a special bond. We're both born on the exact same day, so every single time I see Franz Wagner, I always cheer for him.
Mr. Reed, I know you're listening to this, but you'll have to correct your son on making certain statements on the air when he gets home today. That was a great take, by the way, Ryan. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's jump over to the West. OKC versus the Grizz. As I said, I think the Grizz can take one or two, but I am going to go with OKC in 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the Grizzlies, they're another team where they'll take the jump again eventually. Again, of course, it relies on Ja being healthy. It relies on supporting cast as well. We saw Zach Edey have double-doubles in back-to-back games, but I do think that OKC is just too much right now for the Grizzlies to handle. Of course, you got SGA, you got Isaiah Hartenstein. That is a really solid team. I mean, it almost won 70 games. OKC almost won 70 games this year. It's hard for me to not say they're not going to progress. So I'm going to say OKC in 5.
I don't think the Grizzlies win a game against this Thunder team. This Thunder team is a juggernaut, and I think they've already went through that trial period of learning their playoff woes and losing early. They lost in the second round last year to Doncic and the Mavs, and I think this year it's kind of their next jump. I think they make the conference finals minimum, and I think they take care of the Grizzlies in 4, and I don't even know if they lose more than 2 games in round 2. I think they're going to not coast, but they're going to just glide right to the conference final.
Your head. Okay, here's a couple of things that I feel for the Grizzlies because of 2 things: their coaches being their coach being fired.
Yes.
At the end of the season, and then having the head case of Ja Morant with all that talent and all that stupidity wrapped into one, whether it's pistols or grenades. And for those who don't know what Ja Morant does is he got suspended for showing a gun in a club, and then he was like making pistol shooting gestures in games.
I think he upgraded to a grenade launcher.
And then that was funny. The grenade celebration was funny.
It was like, and he's very belligerent. He said, they take one away, I'll find another one. But being that as it may. But what's been cool to watch is the development and relevance of Zach Edey, the Canadian 7'4" post. Couple of double-doubles, and really making an impact on the game, changing a lot of shots. So a lot of people doubted that choice, the wisdom of that choice. But when you look at all the crappy choices teams make in the first and second round, you look at Zach Edey by Memphis as a solid choice. All right, let's jump over to the Nuggets and the Clippers. This is intriguing. We've got about 3 minutes, guys, so we got to go through this quickly. I'll start with you, Ryan. Nuggets and Clips, who wins?
I feel like whatever I say, you're going to just like make some noise.
I'll make fun of it, but you can just say it. You got to have more courage than that, young man.
I'm going to say it's going to go to 7 for sure, I think. And I do think home court advantage is going to matter a decent bit. I'm going to say I'll say Nuggets in 7 just because of the Jokic factor, and he's obviously been there before. Kawhi has won before, but it's been a while for him. James Harden has never won on a massive scale in the finals. Oh, so that's not fair. He actually made the conference finals. He probably should have made the finals that year when he was with Chris Paul and the Rockets. But it's been a while for him, and even a little bit more recent, it's Kawhi in 2019. But yeah, Harden in 2018 and Kawhi in 2019 is the last time they were doing anything winning-wise that was relevant. So I'm going to say Jokic and the Nuggets win in 7, and Jokic averages 33, 12, and 12. No, that was like lowers averages.
Excellent take, Ryan. After you, Avery.
Yeah,
excellent take. Thank you.
You know what? I'm going to agree with Ryan on this one, too. I mean, I think it goes 7 as well. And yes, the Clippers are a fun team. Kawhi's doing his thing. But again, even with the turmoil in Denver, going against Nikola Jokic, in my mind, isn't a wise thing for me. I think Jokic can still dominate a series, get his 33 and 12. I think it's Denver in 7, but it's going to be a fun 7-game series. I don't think any game is determined by more than 5 points in that series.
I'm going to go... I'm reluctantly agreeing with both of you. You guys both made great points, but I think that Jokic's genius, number one, that's a huge factor. But to me, the biggest factor for Denver, we know how great Jokic is. We know how he knows how to win. I mean, my gosh, when you think back to the Olympics last year, Serbia should have beaten the United States. Yep. It was a miracle comeback by the U.S. with a couple of questionable calls in there. That really made it possible for them to come back. Jokic knows how to win. But this year, oftentimes, the Nuggets haven't been healthy enough to have all the necessary pieces to avoid some of the losing streaks they went on. They're relatively healthy now. So if Jamal Murray is actually physically and mentally ready for this series, I'm going to go with the Nuggets over the Clippers as well. Okay, Minnesota, LA Lakers, and we'll go quickly on this one, Avery.
So I'm gonna go. So this is again another great series. Again, you can't
Very
doubt.
intriguing.
You can't deny the great play of guys like LeBron, Luka Doncic. But again, I think Minnesota has some weapons like I said, and a sneaky, and then some guys who can be sneaky in my mind. But I am gonna go Minnesota in 7 games. I do like what the Wolves bring to this series. I do think they can stun the Lakers. But that being said, though, I think Lakers are gonna be back here for a long time to come. Though JJ Redick is a genius. He'll get the Lakers back here again soon. But I'm gonna go Minnesota in 7.
Boy, you had me until you said J.J. Redick's a genius. So I'll go over to you. So
Wow!
Podcast rivalry right there.
Oh my gosh, I think J.J. Redick is a smart basketball guy, but an idiot. So
Smart. What a paradox there.
yes, no, great basketball mind.
I'm going to say it's going to go 7. It kind of reminds me when LeBron was at the Cavs and they played Oladipo and the Pacers in round 1. It went to 7 in that game. They have a dynamic 2-guard with a great supporting cast, and I kind of think that's the similar case with Edwards. I think Edwards is a lot better than Oladipo was, but similar shell of a team. I'm going to say it goes 7 as well, but I think the Lakers win it in 7 in LA in in Crypto.com Arena. I'm gonna go
with Minnesota in 7. Partially
it's a homer pick
because it's a homer pick. That's
Yes.
number 1. But number 2, I think Ant is going to be hard to guard for any of the big 3 for LA. Number 1, I think Rudy can have an impact if he's able to not be dragged out on the pick and roll and be away from the rim too much. But I think, and this is a very shaky assertion on my part. Randall, to me, could be a difference maker in this because I don't know who on the Lakers can guard him. Hachimura can't guard him.
Vanderbilt.
I don't think that, but I don't think
Jared Vanderbilt? No.
I don't think he can guard him. And so if the Wolves use their, if the Wolves are controlled, I think they have some things that I think are going to be tough for the Lakers to deal with. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Lakers win in 6, to be honest, because Doncic, LeBron, I mean, you're talking about basketball royalty in the playoffs, not just regular season. So to vote against them is really, really a tough stretch. But Minnesota, they've again come through this ups and downs with this upset in their trades. So we'll see. So final, can Golden State with playoff Jimmy and the great Steph Curry beat the Houston Rockets, which again, I don't want to put them in the same category, Avery, as Detroit in terms of exceeding expectations in the regular season.
Yeah.
But they certainly did exceed overall expectations in this regular season. And they're a tough, hard-nosed team. Can Golden State find a way to beat them in this series?
I do think so. In similar vein of the Nuggets, this Warriors team still knows how to win. They've won in the past few years. I'm not gonna go against Steph Curry or a Draymond Green team that finds ways to win first round series often. So I'm gonna go Golden State. But I'm gonna say Golden State in 6. I do think the Rockets find a way to get a couple of games off the Warriors in this series.
Okay, how about you, Ryan?
I'm going to say again, I think it's a lot closer than people. I think people are just assuming the Warriors are going to win. And
yeah,
I'm not saying everyone's like 6 is probably a good guess, but I think the Rockets are a genuinely very feisty and good team. And they have a lot of guys that can score. I think it'll be a little bit tougher down the stretch with the Rockets at who's the guy, like who's shooting. Is it Fred, who's won a championship? Is it Jalen Green, who led the team in shot upshooting there? Is it Dylan Brooks because he's, I don't know, because he thinks he's the guy?
Dylan always does.
Yeah. I'm going to say Rockets in 7, but I don't feel good about it. How about that? That's in the betting words, stay away.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Avery on. I'm gonna go with the Warriors in 6, but I think that's one of the great things about speculating before things start. You always have to couch it with, but I wouldn't be shocked if it swung the other way. And by the way, my comment on J.J. Redick is this: when he called Bob Cousy and the early players in the NBA plumbers, playing against plumbers and firemen.
Oh, yes.
That just turned me off completely on the guy. He's done, I think, a really good job with the Lakers this year. I think he's a great basketball mind. He was a phenomenal player. His podcast was excellent. I think he's arrogant as hell, but that's good. He's got to be confident. But that comment to me, for an old guy, it's like you don't understand whose shoulders you're standing on. And I love what Jerry West said about it. It's similar to what Magic Johnson just recently said about Anthony Edwards when he said the only guy with skill in the past was Michael Jordan. Both Magic and Jerry West said, by the way, how many championships have you won? So he said, why don't you go win a championship? When you start doing that, then you can say this stuff. I'd say the same thing to Reddick. So we're going to take a break right now. Avry, thank you so much. Folks, you can listen to Avry on averysports.com on his podcast. He's always publishing great work. Avry Lewis-McDougall, thanks so much for joining us today.
And of course, it was a blast ball anytime, buddy.
All right, that's great. Ryan, we're going to take a break. Then we're going to be having the opportunity to speak with All-American, third-round draft pick of the WNBA, Calgary's own Yvonne Edgem, right here after the break on Sports 1440. Welcome back to the Basketball Show. Paul Sir, Ryan Reed. We are very grateful. Avry from Avery's Sports Show joined us today. Ryan, why don't you read the Twitter poll one more time, please?
For sure. So over on our Twitter basketball_show, we're asking fans which of these four final scenarios is most likely. Boston versus OKC, Cleveland versus OKC, Golden State versus Cleveland, or the Lakers versus the Celtics. So far, Boston versus OKC is the leader, but it's close. They have 39.1% of the vote. Second place, Lakers versus Celtics, 34.4% of the vote. Then Cleveland versus OKC, 17.4%. And then Golden State versus Cleveland. We have people replying to the tweet saying that the LeBron final is due versus Lakers versus Cleveland, that is. And that would be a fun final. So shout out to Mitchell Blair, who said that on the Twitter.
Wouldn't that be intriguing, though, to have the Lakers play against Cleveland? That really would be something, Mitchell.
Or if LeBron won the final for LA in Cleveland.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, very interesting. Once again, our contest for our official FIBA 3x3 jersey and shorts. Make the case for a team other than the Boston Celtics, OKC Thunder, or Cleveland Cavaliers to win the NBA championship this week. Our text is 833-401-1440, and one of our lucky listeners is going to win a set of FIBA 3x3 official gear valued at $150. We had to reschedule Yvonne's appearance, so she will be appearing actually at 11:20. So Ryan and I are going to have a fairly short segment now. Then we're going to jump over to my interview with Ben Golliver. But I'd like to touch on a couple of things about the playoffs and some of the intriguing aspects to it. First of all, one of the things I think you have to take into account with the Golden State reset is Jimmy Butler's 35, Steph Curry is 37, and they had 38 and 37 the other night. I mean, they pretty much played to their age in terms of points, but it was the way that they scored. I mean, Curry's genius and outrageousness, Ryan, in how he's able to score is really something. But Jimmy Butler just brings such a solid game. It seems like when he goes into his focused lane that he has to be effective, he has to be assertive, which he doesn't always like to be offensively, particularly during the regular season. But when it matters, his focus is really something to watch, isn't it?
I think that's one of the bigger differences between now and back in the day. I think it's not just like the talent and skill level, just being able to play for so long and to the highest level that you can play, right? Being 36, 37 years old and LeBron at 40 and still being able to do what you can do with modern medicine, I think that's just a testament to just what the modern era is like and how everyone's going to be able to play 15 to 20 years probably if they just keep at it. Even if you like Dame Lillard, for example, has blood clots and he's just back in like 4 months. That would never happen in the 70s and 80s, right? Or even like maybe 30 years ago in the 90s, and right?
Even in the 90s, definitely not. No, I agree with you.
Even Chris Bosh a couple of years ago had blood clots, and that was it.
Yeah, his
I think it was a little bit more advanced. I think than like it. I think it. I'm not a doctor by any stretch, but I think it was a little bit more extreme than.
Yeah, I mean, there's always levels of different conditions, that's for sure. But your point's well taken. It's something that I wanted to touch on later in the show, and actually am going to do at least an hour on this HBO series called Celtic City. I'm through 4 episodes so far, but it's an in-depth, detailed history of the Boston Celtics franchise, all of the championships that they've won, but all of the issues that the city of Boston presented to the Celtics, particularly in the areas of racism. But I would touch on it from this standpoint. When Bill Russell retired in 1969, Bill Russell was 35 years old, and he looked 60. Like his body was worn down. Back then, in that era, it had to be an almost catastrophic injury for a player to sit out, or a condition that you just could not play with. But the expectation was that you played with pain. And that was one of many contributing factors to much shorter careers for athletes at that time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played into his 40s, into I think 40 or 41, because he needed the money. He lost all of his worldly possessions in a fire in a multi-million-dollar house that he had no insurance on. But Kareem at 40 was just a shadow of himself, a rickety, old, ineffective player. Same with Robert Parrish from the Celtics. Played till he was 40, ended his career with the Bulls, but in no way was able to compete at that level. The combination of nutrition, medicine, exercise, but also it still comes down to the will, Ryan. There's a great interview between Steve Nash and LeBron James about what LeBron James does on a daily basis to keep himself in the kind of condition and readiness that he is in right now. I mean, the discipline is incredible. And not everybody's willing to do that. Dwight Howard was just inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the biggest thing that the Lakers had to do when Dwight Howard went to the Lakers is they had somebody go over to his house to find all the Skittles that he had hidden in his drawers, because all he ate was candy. And physically, he broke down a lot faster than maybe he would have because if he had trained along the lines of what a LeBron does, what Michael Jordan did on his comeback. As ill thought out as that was a different era. But Tom Brady, of course, in football is famous for that, playing into his mid-40s. But now you've got guys at 37, Steph Curry, he has remade his body and is so much stronger than he used to be, but he's still light on his feet. It really is remarkable to watch.
I do think that, like a quick point on Bill Russell, I think the aging at 35 is also due to the battles he was facing off the court, and that's understandably taxing on you physically and mentally.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a little bit different there, maybe a little bit there. But again, it also is due to medicine and just the current stage of that. And as you mentioned, Curry is probably playing some of the best basketball of his career in spurts. Maybe not as consistently as he used to when he won MVP in a couple of years. The first unanimous MVP ever, actually, back in 2016. But it's crazy to see, like, people I grew up watching when I was a tiny kid are still the best players in the world, right? Like when Curry kind of came on the scene in the early 2010s, and I was in grade 5, and when he won the first MVP, I was in grade 8.
Yeah.
And when LeBron came down 3-1 against Curry, I was in grade 10 or grade 9, and it's cool things like that makes me want to cheer for the older. Like, I'm cheering for Curry to make it. I'm cheering for LeBron to make it. I was cheering for Kevin Durant to make it. It creates more, honestly, when they're around longer, they're going to create more fans, and then the fans that were there when they're younger, when they're older and they understand more, then they're going to cheer even more. So
no, I'm
happy it's happening.
Well, I'm happy it's happening too, that these guys can continue to play at this level. And when you watch LeBron, at times you can see where he's slower on defense. You can see he's lost part of a step, but he's still explosive, really explosive. Very, very
when he's
effective.
going to the rim, I don't even know what he's really supposed to do.
Yeah, it's just incredible to watch. So it's an exciting time going into the playoffs and having all these matchups that Avery, Ryan, and I were able to break down. So we're going to take another break right now, and when we come back, we'll have my interview with Ben Golliver. This was on Wednesday, so you're going to hear a little bit about play-in games that have already taken place, but as always with Ben, just wait, because you're going to get a lot of insight into why matchups are so intriguing as we go into the NBA playoffs. You're listening to The Basketball Show with Paul and Ryan here on the Sports Leader, Sports 1440.